I love that the first question is, are there any mods where we can remove the ugly? And I don't think the aesthetics is the only problem that this game has. You can actually, from what I saw, make some beautiful characters. You can't make characters with big breasts. Like, that is not allowed. I think, like, B cup is the maximum. There has been an epidemic of titty cancer within the Dragon Age universe, so that's why a lot of people have chest scars and stuff. But you can actually make beautiful female characters. Kind of difficult though, like you gotta struggle a little bit with the character editor, but it is possible. So no, that's not the issue. The issue seems to be performance-wise. I saw a lot of streamers struggling with the game. There's no excuse for it, by the way. It also seems to be the dialogue. We're going to watch a couple of clips that I can show now. Yesterday I wasn't able to because they were copyright striking the stuff, but now it's okay. The dialogue is unbelievably cringe. Another thing that they do, which is very annoying, like you try to tell a character to fuck off, and like there's literally the button there on the wheel, and it says fuck off, and when you click it, your character goes like, kind sir, would you kindly stop that? Basically, like, the character does and says something else than what you're asking them to say. I don't know why they do this. It's very bizarre. The gameplay is not Dragon Age. It's more like God of War, people are saying. I don't know about that, but it is a lot lazier than what you would expect. I generally like don't understand, like, the gameplay from Dragon Age was fine. Like, why did they change it? It's the same company, like. Anyway, the characters that you got, the companions, awful. So we're going to show you a little bit about that once more people join. But the question is, will it flop? So far, it's not doing very well for a AAA game. Like, a lot of people were expecting that it would be a Dustborn or a Concord, and I told you this from 2 days ago. No, like, this game is going to get people playing it because it's got a rich history. It's got a decade of history behind it. This is why they actually went with Dragon Age and they didn't create something new. It's because they expect people to buy it simply because of the title. And if you look at the trailer and you're not part of the culture world, like you're a person living in Spain and you don't know anything about this and you're just seeing like the trailer, and like the game looks pretty, right? Environmental, I mean, the characters look awful. But it's enough to get people to at least buy it and try it simply because it's Dragon Age. Now, it would need to sell, let me check. Because it needs to make quite a few sales in order to break even due to the marketing. Yeah, it would need to sell at least 4 million copies. And now you get, from what I saw on the launch, 40,000 people playing. Let's assume that they get up to 100,000 people playing. That's a flop. Like that, it's not a, I mean, it wouldn't be like a spectacular flop like Concord, but it would definitely be, I believe, Anthem level. Again, it's too early to tell. This is just my prediction. I may be wrong, you know, like, it's all about the word of mouth at this point. Like, they already pushed the game as much as they could. They censored everything. They paid the shills. They paid the reviewers. They didn't give early access to certain reviewers that they didn't like. So, it's definitely not a return to form, right? Like, if you only manage to get less people playing than Call of Duty. Like, take into account, there's more people playing Call of Duty than there are playing this. And I'm talking about, like, Call of Duty, which is a game that comes up every year, right? Meanwhile, like, this is supposed to be a massive game. Like it's Dragon Age, you know? It's got a decade of legacy. A lot of people were excited about the story. Like, they wanted to see what's happening with Solus. And, yeah, like, you would expect that this game would be omega hype. I remember when Dragon Age first came out, there was massive hype around it. Like, just phenomenal hype. And then Dragon Age 2, despite the fact that it wasn't very good, like, on release date, it was incredibly hyped as well, so. No, it did more than Call of Duty. Like when Dragon Age 1 and 2 came out, it did a lot more than Call of Duty because it's Dragon Age, right? It was BioWare, it was a brand. I mean, even people that played Call of Duty would stop playing Call of Duty just to play Dragon Age. I don't think it's good. Like, if it gets Game of the Year, then the rewards are rigged. Like, there's no other explanation. This cannot be a Game of the Year. A Game of the Year is a game that I could see myself playing 10 years from now. That's what Game of the Year should be. And this is definitely not it. I mean, there have been better games that came out this year. I would even say that Silent Hill would probably be a better contender than this. How many players does that new NFT Ubisoft has? I didn't know that Ubisoft has an NFT, and I don't know. What I did notice is that there are so many woke tropes in this remake. It's unreal. Like one of the tropes that they do is that they get rid of previous characters as soon as they can. Because the people that are doing the remakes, they absolutely hate the originals, and they only do the remakes because they want to get the audience, right? It's kind of like a Trojan horse. And from what I heard, the dwarf immediately gets stabbed so that they have a reason to push him out of the way. It's what they did in The Last of Us 2 with Joel. Like, they do this constantly, right? Like Star Wars, they did it with the old characters. Like, the first thing that they do when they make a remake is they kill the old cast in order to make room for the new. And the new is boring and bland. I noticed this with Marvel. Like, that's where it started, right? Like, they started with the representation, and you'd go see a Marvel movie, you'd go see the Avengers, and then you'd pick up a comic book, and not a single superhero that was on the movie was represented in that comic book. Like, instead of Thor, you had female Thor. Instead of Wolverine, there was a chick. Instead of the Hulk, it was Asian Hulk. Instead of Iron Man, it was Iron Heart, right? A black lady. Like literally every single superhero, every single one was replaced. And it wasn't like you can still read the previous superhero. It wasn't like, okay, well, you can still read, like, Thor. No. Now you can't, because he's replaced. You can't read Iron Man. Like, you gotta read Iron Heart. They're not just happy with sidelining. They have to destroy. Like, they actually killed Iron Man. And, you know, it's comic book, so he would come back, and now I think he's back. But, like, there was a time when they did that. And this is what they're doing with these remakes in Dragon Age. Like, they're killing off everyone. Geralt of Rivia confirmed that. Yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the new Witcher, you get to play. I mean, they already announced that Geralt's story is over, right? So, like, why not just kill him at this point? Let me show you something which I can only describe as social justice pornography. I don't know how else to put it in words. I talked about it yesterday, but I couldn't show it to you because of copyright. However, now I can actually show you the whole scene in all its cringiness. Like, there has never been something more cringe in a video game. And I'm even counting The Last of Us. I'm even counting Life is Strange. Like this is peak cringedom. So, look at this shit. This is the grimdark fantasy, by the way, right?
Pounding that snake's nose. She's still holding the ruby in her other hand. Maker's panties. I was so proud.
Maker's panties. Again, like someone came up with this dialogue, and they, I think, like, they made the Maker female now, because in the first game, like, they didn't address the gender of the Maker. Like, he's the Maker, right? Like, he doesn't have a gender. It's like God, you know? It's patriarchal, basically. But anyway, right, the Maker had, like, this chick called Andraste, and Andraste was, like, the Messiah, like, she was Jesus. And now they're saying, like, Maker's panties. In other words, like, I guess, like, the Maker is... But like, why not just say Maker's tits? Like, that would actually make sense, right? Like, Maker's tits. Like if you really want to be vulgar about it, and like, the Maker is actually a female, just say Maker's tits. It sounds better, right? Like, it actually makes sense. If you want to be that cringe, at least be cringe in a way that's somewhat acceptable. Maker's panties. Jesus. No, these people hate tits. I think the reason they hate tits is because doctors do not have the technology to make tits like an anime. that is probably like the only thing. I don't know why else, but they seem to have like a specific aversion towards tits and a bigger fascination towards chess cards.
Shit.
Right, so look at the misgendering. Hold on. Just notice the misgendering.
Maker's panties. I was so proud.
Oh,
Like she's dying. The psychic attack is real. Like this is torment, right? Like I genuinely can imagine that a version of hell for people from California is to go in a place where they constantly get like him. No, I they that him. No, I they that him, and they're like You know, the Russians are probably having like Spec Ops division, like Sputnik, and they're like, look, this is American, blue hair, he him, and they're like But luckily, you know, if you do friendly fire, I guess, if you're in the trenches and you do friendly fire, the game teaches you what you need to do.
Shit. They're still holding it.
They again, I talked about this yesterday. In the universe of Dragon Age, you have like the wizards. The wizards are probably like femininity, right? And the wizards, they use the power of the veil in order to manipulate reality, to trick reality, to lie to reality, right? So like when they cast the fireball doesn't exist, but they use the magic to lie, to mislead. And then you have like the Chad Templar. Like the Templar, they reinforce reality, right? So like the mages are they, and the Templars like, him. And they just like dismantle the magic. Look at this, Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. And they're like, why are they staying like a man? Like, oh god. It's also like the inverse, right? Like the male characters, they still like women, and the women, they still like they have testicles. But they probably do.
So proud.
oh,
Shit. They're still holding it. Sorry.
They.
what are you doing?
Pulling a barb.
Oh, okay. A barv?
Tradition in the Lords of Fortune from one of our old members, Barv. Good guy, but like most of us, his plans went sideways a lot. Bad blood among your crews, not good for morale, but there's not always time for big drawn-out apologies. So when one of us screws up and we know we've screwed up, we do a quick 10 to put it right. Pulling a Barv.
So if you misgender someone, you gotta do push-ups. This is social justice pornography. This is not real, all right? Like, this is what stimulates them, right? They tell you to touch grass because you're a gooner. This is how they goon. Like, they take these characters from this universe, and they're pushing their sick fantasy audio. There's like, you know what? Whenever you misgender someone, I want you to suffer physically. Physically for what you did. Now, what's interesting about it is that it has a lot of meme potential. You know, like if I walk in a Discord with these developers, I'm going to be like, I'm going to pull so many barbs right now with you people. And they'll be like, no, V, no, stop it, no. They got a troll, and it's anti-woke. I'm going to pull a barb, no! You know, like... Can it, by the way, like... Can you actually, like, do the push-ups first and then do the misgendering? Because, like, the moment I would walk in the Discord server, I would just start, like, pushing up. Like, what is he doing? How many? How many is he doing? Like, 1,001? No, like, stop him. Someone stop him.
Oh, there we go.
Look at this. That's very open-minded.
I'm glad the Lords of Fortune have Tashi's back.
And notice, like, this is not even with wokeness. I don't even know why they did this. Like, if you... Look at this, right? You select that's very open-minded, and look what he is saying.
I'm glad the Lords of Fortune have Tashi's back.
What? Why is he saying something completely different than what you selected? Why can't he just read the line that you selected, or change the line so that it's what he said?
Oh, Tash isn't the first non-binary member of the Lords.
Really?
It was a little.
Who fucking cares? Like, this is another thing. You gotta treat this conversation with respect. Like, you can't say, lady, I don't fucking care. Let's just move on. You did your push-ups, right? I don't care. She's non-binary. All right, great. Let's go adventure. Let's do something. You do not have these options. Like, you gotta treat it as if you give a fuck about their American ideology. I'm from Eastern Europe. I just want to enjoy a game with fantasy. It's like, oh, really? Like, he was the first non-binary ever? Yes, he was the first non-binary. No one even remembers this shit. Like, they always do this with Disney. It's like, oh, the first ever black woman that's a super... If you ask one of them now, like, who was the first gay superhero in a Marvel movie, they don't know how to explain that. Like, they don't. But when it came out, I'm pretty sure, like, Disney made a big thing about it.
Little before your time, but Horlicks was one of ours. Huh. Bastard looked better than I did in a dress or pants. And out of them, too.
They are absolutely obsessed with pornography. Like, if you say that you like Stellar Blade, they call you a gooner. But all these dialogues, they're filled with vulgarity and shit. You know, like, okay, Stellar Blade, what do you get? You get a pretty woman in a skin-tight suit, and everything is about her killing aliens. I don't even think there's a porn scene in it, right? Like, I haven't gotten the time to finish it because I'm busy with my game. I played a little bit. It's really great. I'll play it when I have time. But I don't even know if there's romance in it. Right? Like, sure, it's got, like, sex appeal and she does some moves and you get to see her out. But that's it, right? Meanwhile, these gays, like, he was wearing a dress and I got to see him outside of the dress. And, non-binary. It's like... But like, if you don't like these games, you're a gooner. This is what decent people like, right? Like, this is what you bring on the conversation at the dinner table with your mother. I have nothing against this, by the way. Like, it's fine. You know, it's fine. But I don't understand why they have to hate. Like, why do they have to hate the other games? I hate this because I prefer the originals. Like, I like the grimdark fantasy. I used to like what they used to make, and I'm never going to have that. This is what pisses me off. Like, if this was a spin-off, and it's like something that exists alternatively, I wouldn't give a shit. But they're basically saying, I can never play another Dragon Age. Like, if I like the first one, I will never see those original characters. I will never see Liliana. I will never see Morrigan the way that she was. Right? Like, they're never going to make them again. And that's the only reason that I care, and it upsets me, because I invested time and money, and it would have been nice if I could still play it, right? Why not just apologize?
Any reason you can't just apologize?
Sometimes people say, oops, sorry, and hope that fixes it. But they just want to get the whole thing over with. Trust me, I know. But pulling a barf, you sweat a little. Makes you think about it a little more. Shows the other person you mean it.
You know when someone has like a complicated name? Like you're in a class, and you have a foreigner. And he's got like this weird name that you've never heard before. And, you know, you're basically like trying your best to remember it, but maybe you forget. Maybe you misname him. Maybe you're giving him a different name. Imagine if the other person would start immediately making it about themselves and be like, oh, that is so disrespectful. How did you not remember my name? Oh, like you're erasing me. You're What would you say if that person behaved that way? And by the way, they're trained to actually be this upset when someone makes a mistake. Because like in this scene, it's actually shown that she made the mistake. Like she genuinely didn't want to misgender, but she misgendered, and now she had to suffer. She had to sweat a little.
What if they mean it when they say they're sorry, though?
It's literally a lecture. Like, this is not gameplay. This is not you interacting. You can't tell her to fuck off. Like, this is the thing. It's a role-playing game, but you can't give her the middle finger. You can't say, I'm not interested in this. You can't, like, you're forced to attend this seminar. And you are being educated. Like, these women are talking, like, it's kind of like those kids shows, right? Like, when you are young and you have, like, the Muppets or whatever, and they're basically, like, talking about something, and it's like, but what about this, and what about that? And it's like, oh, good question, Jimmy, this, blah, 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 blah. They actually view themselves mentally superior than you. Like, they view themselves as better human beings, and they look at you as a lesser. It's kind of like a Christian that's like a radical from like some weird sect that believe they have obtained salvation, and they're looking at you with disdain because you're refusing the salvation. So they come to you with wisdom, and you gotta accept them. Otherwise, they just look at you with disdain. The only difference is that the Christian allegedly speaks on behalf of God and wants to save your soul. These individuals, like, even if you accept their bullshit, it's never enough. Like, you just get the lectures to intensify. You get even more lectures. Like, there is never a point in time where they're pleased. And they're like, okay, well, you're one of us now.
And that's the other reason. Some people mess up and get all dramatic. They make it about them. Oh, I didn't mean it right. I'd never do that on purpose.
This is literally one of the writer dumping all their insecurities and all of the problems that they have onto the player. Like, this is not a character from a fictional universe. This is not Isabel. This is the writer using Isabel as a VTuber, dumping all of their insecurities, all of their frustrations, all of their problems on people that have paid $60 to play this shit.
They feel so bad about it that it's on everyone else.
Look at the face. Jesus fucking Christ. Remember Isabel? Like there was no way you could stop a single frame and make her look masculine with like a strong jawline.
Else to smooth it over and make them feel better.
Oh, okay. Yes, some people might do that.
Pulling a barb puts it on the person who screwed up. They made the mess, they fix it, done.
Good God. Right. No, this is... Wow. Christopher, thank you for the 10 euros. I never finished Dragon Age Inquisition. Neither did I. I tried 3 times to finish it. And it wasn't because of wokeness or anything like that. It was just like it was a grind fest. It was a grind fest. The characters weren't as interesting as the second and the first game. The quests, the secondary quests were really boring. I didn't like the fact that you had to level up a lot before you could finish the story. No, I just didn't like it. And I tried, like 3 different times, I tried finishing Dragon Age Inquisition and I couldn't. I'm skipping this and playing KCD 2 and 1. Won me over with the historical detail on everything, including religion, which is rare in the media. The same Isabel that will straight up betray you in Dragon Age 2 is now hyper worried about getting the wrong pronoun. They don't care about characters. They don't care about the character goal. Like, look, when I'm writing a video game, the first thing that I do when I create a character, and this is also what Arch does when he does D&D, and most Dungeon Masters do the same actually. You create the character, and the first thing you do is like you create a baseball card for the character, right? And the character will have ambitions and goals. It will have qualities and flaws, and then you can have like relationship, right? Like who does the character get along with? Who does the character doesn't get along with? And then when you write, you keep going to the baseball card. You keep going there, and you're like, all right, well, this is what the character likes. These are his positives, right? So in the case of Isabel, it's like, well, she cares about herself, and she cares about wealth and adventure. She doesn't care about other people because she would rob you. Like she doesn't care about other culture. She steals a holy book and creates a war between 2 factions. Like, this is the last character that would care about pronouns. Right? Like it doesn't make sense. But the writers do not care about these things. They're like, okay, well, which is the character that's close to us? This one. All right, well, this one is going to make the lecture now. I have a house, a wife, 4 kids, and an entire room dedicated to retro gaming. I'll pass on the blue-haired cat lady advice. Santa lies when thinking bipedal species. It's Halloween. I see. Anyway, I understand there's a popular Japanese game that just came out today. A lot of people told me. And they were saying, well, it would be funny if it sells more than the... No, it won't. It won't, but still. It did sell more than Concord, I understand. Anyone knows that pirates would never steal. Yeah. In my playthrough, Isabella did betray my hawk. I certainly finished the game. Well, no, the thing with Isabella was that if you romance her, she comes back, right? So, like, the entire story was that you have, like, Kunaris that would attack the town. And the reason they attack is because, like, they accuse the mayor of stealing their holy book. And you think they're lying because there were tensions before that. And it turns out that, yeah, no, like, actually someone did steal their holy book, and it was Isabella. Now, if you actually romanced her, like, she actually comes back and returns the book, but they want to kill her because they offended them. Like, that is not something you're supposed to do, like, touching their holy text and shit. So, I think, like, you actually have a choice, because, like, back then you have choices to hand her over to the Kunari to be executed for the theft, or side with her and keep fighting the Kunari. Isabella would be like, yeah, we're killing half of your crew and taking away your cargo, but don't worry, we're not going to misgender you. That's also something I noticed in The Last of Us too, right? Like this is what they do in these woke games. They remove the role-playing aspect, and they remove the immersion, and they usually say something like, well, it's better not to give player choice because they'll make the wrong choices. So in The Last of Us 2, there is this cult, and I think like they're trying to allude to Christianity, but they're trying to hunt this transgender person. They made a big deal about it in the promotional trailers. And I thought that Abby is the trans person, but no. Like, there's actually a female to male trans person in The Last of Us 2, right? And your job is to protect and escort. You got, like, no choice. You gotta do it. But what I found interesting is that this cult is trying to assassinate her. But what they do is, like, they do not misgender her. Like, they go out of it. Like they are, absolutely fanatic. Maximum transmophobismus. Like, the only reason they want to hunt her is because of the gender identity that she has. But they will not misgender her. And it's like, wow, that's very interesting, right? So, like, the writer themselves will write things, like, imply bad things about Christianity. They will write all this vile stuff, but, like, they will never, even when it makes sense. Even within the context, even, like, right? Because, like, this is what happened in real life. Like, people that are willing to do something like this, like in the Middle East, right? Like, in the Middle East, they also go after people for their gender identity. Do you think, like, the ones that go after, like, the vigilantes there, do they care about pronouns and shit? Missed the fucking start again. Well, I'm sorry, Zixian. It started now. A female to male kid. Yeah, that was it. In a post-apocalyptic world, people will respect their pronouns. I don't even think you can have this ideology in a place that's impoverished. Like, you need to genuinely, like, not have any problems in your life in order to even think about these things. Because, like, when you're actually poor, you're thinking, how do I pay the bills? How do I put food on the table? What am I going to do tomorrow? Like those are your main concerns. You don't have time to think about Zerger. By the way, another thing that Dragon Age did. Apparently, they butchered the German translations. Like, there were people on Twitter saying that they tried non-binarizing German language. But German is a very gendered language. Like, everything in Germany has a gender. I'm not kidding. Money has a gender. The table has a gender. The chair has a gender. Like, literally, it's the way Latin languages work. It's very difficult to explain to an English person that doesn't speak any other language besides English. But, like, basically, the table is a him. Okay? Like this is what we're talking about. The money is a her. Like, in Latin languages like German, Spain, Romanian, Italian, every single noun has a gender. It's the way the language is designed, right? And when you try to non-binarize the language, you're bastardizing it. It sounds really, really bad. It sounds like folks, right? It sounds like this, but even more cringe. This is why the Latinx were having a hissy fit about it, and they were considering it a slur, because you're literally scratching their ear in a very unpleasant way. It sounds like beyond unnatural, right? So they did this, and apparently it upset a lot of people from Germany. Even like the left-leaning people do not like it because it sounds so pompous. Like, I don't even know how to say it. It's kind of like a person from the outside bastardizing your language on purpose. In certain Latin-based language, genitals are considered female-coded. Yeah, in Romanian as well. Like, the cock is a female. It is what it is, but it's not like it has a personality. Like, it's difficult to explain to someone that only speaks English, right? It's not like it has its own personality or that it's an entity or anything like that. It's just like the way the language is made, right? Like, based on the gender, you're supposed to phrase it in a different way. It's kind of difficult to explain. But you cannot, like, non-binarize these languages. Gender is grammar, not sex. Wokeism so Anglo-centric. Yeah, like, it's got grammar rules. That's pretty much what it is, right? Yeah, kind of like a ship is female. That's a good observation. Yeah, like kind of like in English, right? Like a ship is female. But, like, imagine if everything had the gender, right? So, like, it's not just the ship, but, like, everything. The street, the lamplight, like, everything has a gender. And when you talk about the ship, you talk about her. Like, isn't she a beauty, right? Like it's got a gender, the ship, in English language. That's a really great observation. It's actually, yeah, no, it's interesting because, like, the house, yeah, this is kind of how it works, right? When you have, like, a ship and you're throwing it to someone, it's like, oh, isn't she a beauty? Now, imagine if you had a house and the house would have a male gender and you'd present your house to someone and you'd be like, isn't he a beauty, right? And you're talking about your house. That's kind of how it works in Latin languages. But now imagine that you have these ideologues and they say, no, you can't call the ship a she now. You need to call it a zer. And you're like, isn't zer a beauty? And it just sounds so bad, right? And it's not just the ship, now it's everything. Because, like, everything has a gender. So now you're talking about the street, and you can't say he. It's like, when you refer to the street, you don't use the word the, right? You don't say the street. You're supposed to now say fix, right? It's kind of like, okay, I know how to explain it. Fuck, it took me a while. But I got it, chat. Right, you know how in English, you say the street, right? So, like, the, like, we are walking on the street, right? You're supposed to say the in front of the noun. Imagine if someone comes and they would say, no, the is not inclusive, so you're going to use this. You're going to use thix, right? So now you have to say thix street, right? I'm walking on thix street. Like, imagine, like, someone bastardizes your language like this. How would you feel? It's not that you're offended or anything. It's grotesque, it's vile, it's repugnant, it just sounds so bad. And when you hear someone talk like that, you think they're mentally deranged. No, because, like, the thing is, right, like, you could use Z Street, and it would make sense, but they usually, like, go for the stuff that's difficult to pronounce and makes no fucking sense. So they would actually use, like, this. They would, like, Thick Street. I'm at Thick's computer. You know, it's... and, like, Mother Nature and Father Time. Yeah, isn't nature beautiful, right? Like, isn't she beautiful? And you're talking about the nature. No, her story isn't really that problematic. Like again, I'm trying to give you examples of what the problematic things sound like. And I'm struggling to actually find so you can understand the complexity of it and just how far it goes. Yes, I did talk about the German translation, yeah. It's pronouns for now. They will come for your nouns too. The reason they do this, by the way, because you gotta wonder, like, why the fuck do they care so much? Well, the reason they do it, the maker is Andraste's spiritual husband in origin. Also, Isabella would never be this considerate. She's down an entire city to steal something valuable. Yeah. You can send me a super chat, you cheapskate. Stop messaging me on Discord. It's how I make a living, through super chats. Anyway. The reason they do this thing with the pronouns is so that you care about being woke, right? Because like if they wouldn't and they would just like leave you alone, then no one would care, right? Like you would be tolerant. It's like, okay, this is a character that's presenting themselves as a different gender. All right, fine. But they want you to care, and when you misgender them, the reason you gotta pull a Marv is so that now you have to think, like, what else can you do to offend them? And you gotta study, you gotta learn, like, you gotta get involved with their ideology. This is why the microaggression exists, right? Like they're there in order to make you read the New York Times, the Guardian, so you can see what's politically correct nowadays, because it usually changes from year to year, so you gotta stay up to date. It's destruction of language, man. Similar thing in Latvian. Female names and objects end in E, and male object end in S. Yeah, and then they want to make you so that you end in X. It's like, come on. Like, the entire language just sounds bad. Like, just so you understand, like, every noun you say in a sentence is going to sound awful. It's going to sound wrong. And you gotta say it. And it's like, ugh. Excuses for not learning a new language? Heels versus Babyface is playing Velgard. His character is hysterical. It's like anyone is taking the piss. Like, this is what I don't understand. What exactly are they expecting to accomplish? Because no one is making characters seriously. Like, they're expecting people will treat this with seriousness, but, like, everyone is taking the piss. I want to tell you something, right? Whether or not this will be successful, because I got, like, a lot of people saying, on the left, is like, oh, this is going to be successful. I doubt it. I don't think it's going to be a Concord level flat, but it's definitely not going to be a success. I don't even expect it to break even, but we'll see. It's too early to tell. Still, if I'm a betting man, like if I was to gamble, I would say it's not going to break even. When you add the marketing to it, right? Because you gotta add the marketing as well, like not just the cost to make the game, but the publicity and the shilling. Now, here's my take. Let's assume that it's successful, right? Like, let's assume it's game of the year. How would I feel about it? I'm still getting a hard on. Motherfucker, I am non-binary. It turns me on not to buy this game. And all the other games, I'm happy in my little corner. I'm eating well. Nikkei's second anniversary came out. They gave us like 30 spins on the gacha. That's probably, I think, like $100 worth of spins. They have a new Nikkei. She's called Cinderella. She's got big tits. She's dressed in white. She's got like an interesting story. That's my jam. And on top of that, I get to turn myself on to experience arousal by not buying this game. It's not on my... Like, let me tell you something, right? Every single time that I feel I need to touch myself, some people, like back in the day, they would have a Playboy magazine, or they would have something like... they would have like some form of visual reference. And I don't know if I can show this on YouTube, but you know what? I'll do an exception. I will show you the most lewd thing that I can ever find. Okay? Like this is what I do. This is how I do, okay? Like if you have any kids, please take them away. Like, this is going to become an adult stream right now. If this gets the channel banned, I'm sorry, but like I'm going to show you some pornography right now. This right here, this is what turns me on. This, right? Like, do you notice the button is green? Like, there's no add to cart. This, it really does it for me. I don't know about you, but this is my sexuality now. Non-binary. I just don't buy, and I get hard from not doing it. And then I look at this picture, and it's like, this game, 59.99 euros, add to cart, not clicked. And then I also see the betrayer. The betrayer. Captain Kibbs, what are you doing? But all jokes aside, no, seriously. You may wonder, it's like, how does it work, V? Why are you like... I was just born this way. Okay, I can't explain it. I don't think I can change. But I was born this way. And let me show you why that is, right? Give me a second. Let me see if I can find it. And I will explain exactly why I'm getting the feelings that I do. So, say your game has been adapted for modern audiences, right? So I really love this game. This was a game that I spent a lot of money on. I even had a wallpaper at one point with the game. And then they called me, right? Like they literally called me, chat. Me, personally. Like, I'm sitting at the monitor, and they're calling me a talentless freak. And I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Why are they calling me a talentless freak? What do I need to do? Oh, they want my money? Not giving them my money now turns me on. It's really the way it is. Like knowing that these people called me a talentless freak and they expected my money and now they're not getting it makes me happy. Right? They told me it's not for you, don't buy it. I'm like, okay. Perfect. This is how it works. I don't care if the game is popular. I don't care if everyone buys it. I don't care if it becomes Game of the Year. I live in my universe. I'm still going to laugh at it. This is funny as fuck. And I'm going to laugh at the people playing it. And I generally don't care. You know, Tumblr was also popular. Tumblr was also profitable. I still laughed at it. I didn't go there. It was still hilarious. You know, what are you from? I am from Tumblr. It upset them. Them getting upset pleased me greatly. Right. Where's my chat? Chat, where are you? I found you. Lord Valzi, thank you for the €5. Wish we had more micro meekness. Saying something mean, but the other person is forced to think it's nice. I've never heard about micro meekness before. Like, that's a new one. Maybe it's the chat push-up where the protagonist sort of enforces his point by doing push-ups? No. Although I will tell you, no one that cares about pronouns as much as these guys can pull 10 push-ups. I refuse to believe it. Like, if you're really that invested into pronouns at that level, like we see in Dragon Age, which is like way and beyond the call of wokeness, then you cannot do 10 push-ups. There is no way. My disinterest will last longer than their solvency. Absolutely. In the same way with January 6 photos, the one of the senators are hiding under the tables. If that is microaggression, that is opposite. No, like, seriously, my favorite take is when they say something like, Dragon Age was always LGBTQ. And it's true, right? Like, in the first Dragon Age, you could have a lesbian romance with Liliana. And in the second Dragon Age, you could have, like, gay romance and shit. But you know what else you could have? You could have had straight heteronormativity. So, the fact that you had gay relationships didn't remove any of the pleasure from people that were straight. Straight people still had Isabel, they still had Morrigan, and you could just have, like, wholesome relationships that were straight. And you could also have relationships that were gay. No one was complaining. And they weren't, like, lecturing sessions. It wasn't things where you have to stay down and get educated about pronouns and things that have nothing to do with the grimdark universe. So, no, it wasn't. I mean, you can say it was always LGBTQ, but it wasn't exclusively LGBTQ. Like you didn't have to be gay in order to appreciate the romance options. The elf assassin was a bit rapey, yes. I think that was in second, Zevran. I forgot. I mean, it's been more than 10 years, please. You know, like, I know that there are people that get really upset if you forget, like, a small detail, but I'm not that obsessed with the game. I do remember that I was playing it more than 10 years ago, so I forgot if Zevran was in the first or in the second game. I think he was in the second. But anyway, I remember that in order to unlock the assassin subclass, you actually had to romance him. And I made a review at the time saying that, yeah, like, I found that to be disturbing. I found that to be disturbing because, like, I literally had to allow this character, this NPC, to flirt with me, and I found it appalling because I'm not gay. Like, you're forcing a straight person to engage into homosexual roleplay, and it's like, ugh. Like, you know, it's sufferable. I got through it, but it actually took away from the enjoyment rather than added. You know, like, it should be optional. Like in Mass Effect, you had a gay relationship, but it was optional. So, like, if a person was gay, they could choose to partake in it, and I had no problem with that, right? But if you didn't like it, then, right? My character has a lot of motion? Why, thank you. Wasn't I a furry? A lot of people make this confusion. Like, liking anthropomorphic animals doesn't mean you like people. Like, I was into the art style. I wasn't into... Like, I wouldn't look at a furry and see a human, if that makes sense. And I wouldn't see an animal either. It was like a thing. It's like Rogue the Bat, right? Rogue the Bat wasn't like fully human, but it wasn't an animal either. It's like the art style that I like. It's the drawing. It's the aesthetics, right? Which do not exist in real life. And by the way, I noticed this with my animator as well. I talked about this. Like, I have a female animator that does the animations for my game. And she was getting turned on by one of the animations. And I'm like, okay, but like, this is a woman and it turns you on. Like, are you gay? And she's like, no. Like, women don't look like that in real life. So, like, you're just aroused by the art style. Now you can say, well, no, V, that's gay. It's like, okay, it's gay. But, like, Zevran definitely didn't arouse me. It did the opposite. I found it repulsive. I don't know. I can't explain it. It is what it is. Furry art is very, very ugly. It's a preference. Like, I'm not into it anymore. The moment I managed to get my first girlfriend, I stopped being a furry. But at the time, I liked it. Like, now, I would probably just be like, oh, well, okay, it looks nice. You know, I look at the shading, I look at the shapes, and maybe, you know, but, like, it's not something that I go out of my way in order to find. It's not something that I find enjoyable anymore, and I'm definitely not talking with other furries. Would Zevran arouse me with tail and ears? No. And his personality wasn't really arousing. I'm actually trying to think if there's, like, any male character that had an interesting personality that I would like. Oh, yeah. Okay, there is one. There is, like, one character that I would say, all right, well, this is as close as you can get. If you play Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, there's that gnoll. I forgot. No, not a gnoll. Shit. Little human. Not a halfling. It's bigger than a halfling. Gnome. Yeah, so there's this, like, gnome, and he's lawful evil. He is incredibly based. Like, he oozes baseness. Like, I would just normally have only girls in my party, but, like, he had such an interesting personality that I just couldn't give up his slot. You gotta play the game to know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like, seriously, anyone that plays Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, they absolutely love that character. Like, it's one of the best characters ever made. It's kind of like a Professor Snape, but even more based. Like, complete no-nonsense, calling things the way they are, absolutely Chad energy, incredibly competent and skilled fighter in general. I forgot his name. God damn it. But seriously, like, if you haven't played Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, you gotta play it. It's a really amazing game. The characters are really great. In Dragon Age 2, there's a straight noble ranger that was DLC, but you couldn't have a sexual relationship with marriage. What? No, not Keemstar. Hold on, let me see if I can find a picture of him. So maybe I can find the name. Yeah, I found it. I don't know who the voice actor for this character is, but every single scene that he is in, he steals the show. Like, he's got like so much charisma, the actor, I mean, like, got a commanding voice. And on top of that, it's really well written as a character. And he's incredibly based as well. So yeah, if I fully recommend the game, by the way. I fully recommend people play Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. It's amazingly written, and the characters are also really great. Regil, yes, Regil. The guy oozes stoicism. Like, he is the avatar of the Stoic philosophy. Anyway. We love Regil in this household, yeah. He used to be tall and nice. I'm pretty sure if they were to make, if the same team that made Dragon Age would make Pathfinder sequel, they would make him gay, yes. He's not interested in any romance at all. Like, you can't romance the character, even if you're a woman. He's not interested. The only thing he knows is combat. That's what he is in love with. He's in love with warfare. That's it. I was hard-pressed to remove him from the party sometimes. Like, that's the thing. Like, there are encounters where you know his shit, but you still want him just to hear what he has to say. He's not asexual. It's more like the lore in Pathfinder is that gnomes, when they like they're immortal, but when they reach a certain age, they suffer from what is called the paling. I think it's there's a disease. So, like, they don't get old as normal people do. Instead, once they run out of things to do, like once they experience everything, they start getting this boredom. And this boredom is what aging is for them. It's a fatal disease, basically. Like, the bleachness, I think it's called. So, like, they live forever, but as they experience things, as like, they find out everything the world has to offer, they get really bored, and this is what causes the bleaching of the skin. And then when this starts, like, they have to keep themselves entertained constantly in order to prolong their life. Like, they need to find, like, different things that they haven't done. And this is why this gnome in particular joins the battle, because he basically wants to try something else, so he tries being a soldier, and he's really good at it, and then, you know, like, he's mastering the art of war, and this actually kills him, because if he stops getting stimulated, if, like, everything becomes easy, and he does everything as he's supposed to, it shortens his lifespan, right? Like basically, it's kind of like if you master everything, then you die. So you constantly have to find new things to master. You know, you go from pottery, and then you go into being a soldier, and then you try something else, and eventually you run out of things to do, and you die. So this is what his race is like. And the reason he's asexual is, like, once they get to this stage where they age, they're not interested in romance anymore, because it's kind of like an old person, right? So, like, he already experienced the fulfilling life. He's combat sexual, yes. Yes, board games and video games would help him, but, like, after a while, he masters them, and he dominates the board games, and then he has to find something else. All I know is you got your castle, but that mechanic was updated without the DLC. That's Kingmaker. That's a different game. Sex and romance is boring to a gnome because they're so passionate about it at first. Yeah, like, that's pretty much how a gnome works in that universe. Like, he finds something new, he's very passionate about it, he masters it, and then he gets bored and tries something else. All gnomes swear loyalty to Slanesh. Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like that. Yeah, it's kind of like they need to increase their experiences. They need to find like new heights. But it's not necessarily like sexual in nature. Like it can be anything. Like they start playing football, and once they master football, they need to go and find something else. Was talking about Pillars of Eternity. That was actually an interesting game. I didn't really like the sequel, but the first one was kind of good. How about Arcanum Gnomes? I don't remember Arcanum. I used to play it when I was younger, but like it's been more than 20 years, I think. HK47 was like that. You just wanted him in the party to hear what he had to say. Man, like, there were so great NPCs in BioWare, right? My favorite one was in Neverwinter Nights 2. There was a character called Torio, and she was such a bitch. Like, she was an antagonist, but then you can actually recruit her. And if you recruit her, she becomes loyal. I don't think you can romance her. But she becomes, like, one of your advisors, and she's actually really skilled. I remember, like, she had massive boobs as well. She tries to frame you at one point and accuses you of butchering an entire village, but then you find out that she was working for one of your villains and she didn't really care about hurting you, and she feels bad about it, so you can actually hire her. And if you hire her, then she becomes like one of the best advisors that you have. Is this the one? Let me hold on. No. I'm trying to find a picture with her, but man, it's such an old game. I bet she looks ugly as fuck. Like when I was playing the game, she was really smoking hot because I was a teenager, and on top of that, she had a great personality and big tits, but now she's probably really ugly because the game is very old, so she would look filled with polygons and stuff. I think she even had the voice actress. Oh, I think this is the one. Oh my god, she looks ugly. I was right. I think her portrait was a lot better. It's so weird to see, like, there was a time when they would just still cast female characters in positions where they weren't. They call it the factoid. This is academic, by the way. I'm not even kidding. This is how the academics refer to the character archetype, the fighting factoid. It's from the academia. But, like, they would have, like, female characters in positions of power, and they just had big tits, you know, like in Renaissance painting. Like, it wasn't pornographic. She just has big boobs. And some of them had cleavage. Like, why not? I mean, you look at noble ladies from the past, and they had, like, large dresses, and they have cleavage. The idea that America has become more puritanical under the woke than they were under the Christians is just mind-baffling to me. It's very difficult to grasp that this is the reality, but it is. Although, I wouldn't say it's puritanical, because you still have fan service, but it's just, like, queer. Like, you can still show penises and men with naked chests and sex with bears and all that. If not, Shock, get your kid Steam games from Santa. No, like, my kid is probably going to get a computer that's going to be offline only. And he's going to play old games that I grew up with. He's going to play Prince of Persia. He's going to play, you know, literally all the old games, including Doom, the first one, and Wolfenstein and shit. And when he grows up, then he's going to get an internet connection, maybe when he's 16. I take a decent designed polygon character over a horrible designed modern audience. Yeah, like, the thing with the modern audience is that they're done ugly on purpose, but, like, the ones with the polygons, they're done like that because that's the only way they could do it. Like, that was the technology at the time. And that's how they knew how to design a character. You're going to bring the kid up on a new console each year? Absolutely not. Maybe I'll buy one console so he can play VR games, but yeah, no, it's definitely going to be like the way I grew up. I ended up becoming a pillar of the community, so something must have been right. He's going to grow up like that as well. So he's going to grow up with Prince of Persia, Monkey Island, you know, all the previous games that were from my childhood and great. He's going to grow up with Neverwinter Nights and Baldur's Gate. And you know, by the time he is 16, then he's going to get the internet access. Oh, I can emulate? I don't have to emulate. As long as it runs Doom, yes. Start off with the virtual Game Boy. The problem is, like, I don't know if you can find games for that. Like, it's such an old console, right? Like, handheld stuff. VR console is PlayStation 4 and 5. A lot of woke stuff. Yeah, but, like, you get to decide what you buy. You know, like, Beat Saber isn't woke. Either buy him the classic consoles or get an emulator. No, I think like there's a lot of stuff on the new console. So like if you get a Switch, you got the Sonic. I saw it. Like Super Mario is really cool. Mario Kart. Like there's a lot of games that, you know, Zelda. Yeah, there's a lot of games that you can play which are fine. I'm definitely going to vet everything that my kid plays. Like I'm not just going to let him to play all the modern nonsense. Happy Halloween, and for those who practice, happy Samhain. Is it like Samhain? I never heard about it. By the way, isn't Jim streaming today? I think he is. It's going to be an interesting Halloween. Hold on, let me see if Arch is playing the nonsense. I think like everyone is watching Let's Players of this shit. Oh, he's got 1,000 people watching.
Mouse button, mouse button, mouse button.
It doesn't seem to be having fun.
I'm really glad we gave up that horrible turn-based RPG combat. I'm really glad we gave up all of the skills and abilities we had for mouse button, mouse button, mouse button. This is a vastly improved combat system, definitely.
Do you know, The Witcher, like, had the same problem. They made the first game on the Neverwinter Nights engine. It was pretty much like a mod for Neverwinter Nights. They were like, well, how can we make this better? How can we make it so it's not Neverwinter Nights? And they found out two things. The first one was to have choices that matter. And no game before The Witcher did this, where making an early decision would impact your game later down the line so that you can't load game. Because up until that point, you'd play Neverwinter Nights, and there were places where you had decisions to make. But you could just save the game, make the decision, and then you basically, you know, either won or pass. So, like, for instance, in Neverwinter Nights, especially in the second one, as I mentioned before, you go to a trial. And they accuse you of butchering a village. And you didn't do it, so you had to, like, gather evidence in order to prove your innocence. Now, the way most people could do it is you save the game before the trial, and then you go to the trial, and you make the decisions, and if you failed, you load the game, right? Witcher wasn't like that. The first Witcher is you'd go to the trial, and you'd have the trial, but you wouldn't get the sentence. So, like, you do all the decisions, and then the game keeps going for, like, 6 more hours, and after 6 hours of gameplay, you finally get the verdict. And by that time, if you want to reload the game, you gotta load from such a previous save that a lot of people are like, no, I'm just going to live with the consequences. So, like, that was the first thing that they did in order to make it so that it doesn't feel like you're playing Neverwinter Nights. And the second one was the combat, right? Like, the Neverwinter Nights engine didn't allow for much complexity. But what they did was, like, they created a combo system where you click the mouse and the Witcher starts swinging. And at one point, his sword glows, and you have to click it exactly when it glows, and you continue the combo. So it wasn't just like mindlessly clicking. It was actually trying to dodge certain attacks, and at the same time maximizing your DPS by doing the rhythm click, which I personally liked, but a lot of people hate it. But still, the point is that they tried to create something new and interesting. None of these new developers tried to do this.
and their abilities. Holy shit, I would have just been overwhelmed. Thank God all I need to do is press the fucking mouse button repeatedly. I can charge the mouse button. Jesus, this really is the future of video game combat.
Yeah, because the resources aren't placed on gameplay or making it interesting. Like, all the resources are placed on lecturing you about the pronouns.
Guess we're sliding down.
I guess we are. No, I wanted to go there. There's probably money there. Tab says your new arcane shot ability. It requires 50 mana to use. My God.
Fire is the answer.
Hello, Fallout.
This is another thing, right? Like, it's grim dark. Why is she making the joke like, fire is the answer? Hey, hey, hey. Why can't she be edgy? Why can't she be like, you will burn in hellfire? You know, like, shit like that?
Out.
Point.
It's not wrong to have, like, a character that's quirky, but it's almost like it's a requirement. Every single video, like since Marvel movies, everyone has to be quirky. Every single character, every single line. It went to the point where in the Witcher TV show, you had the actor having to step up and say, no, this is not how you're going to kill the Witcher's horse. Because, like, they killed Roach in the plot, and then they were joking off about it. Like, they had the Witcher say something zingy. And he's like, no. So like, Cavill changed the story, and it made it so that he holds, like, an emotional speech, because, like, his horse died. And it was insanely well received by the audience. Because, well, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, not everything has to be zany.
I haven't seen Solus in person, but I did find hints of old magic, similar to what you get in elven ruins.
Why do the lights flicker? Is the electricity being interrupted by the earthquakes?
The thing is, like, if the game is awesome, you don't even notice these things. Right? Like, if the game is immersive and it pulls you in the atmosphere, you genuinely don't notice that the lights are flickering.
It's hiding.
Then let's go. Before this ritual he's doing gets any worse.
Worse, this ritual's already drawing more power than I'd expect from a dozen mages. You told me he was working alone.
I also told you he was an ancient elven god.
An elven god. Well, whatever he is, he's causing trouble in my city. Let's go.
All citizens in the canal district must remain in their homes.
Meow. Video game.
So, if we do catch Solus, or the Dread Wolf, whatever he calls himself, what's the plan?
He wants to bring down the veil. Hopefully that ritual takes full attention.
So we catch him.
Luckily, the demons aren't interested in me. Michael Frost, $100. Thank you very. Oh, mega chat. What the fuck is up with this video game sliders already?
Jesus. You know, like, the thing is, it's okay if a character editor allows you to make, like, comically looking characters, but I noticed that in modern games, especially Western games, it's a lot easier to make an ugly character, and it's almost impossible to make a good one. While in the Asian games and games before 2016, the opposite was true. Like, it was very difficult in the previous Dragon Ages to make an abomination like this. It wasn't impossible, but, like, you had to struggle more with the sliders.
Yeah, like, if we'd only defined it a bit more. Dislikes puns. Redhead Lady Robert Zadar. My Horwitz, Feinberg. See here. Oh, that's a face.
Everyone is making, like, these atrocious looking characters, and no one is taking them seriously.
A hack and slash third person action game, I'd be happy with this. But it isn't. It's fucking Dragon Age. And in Dragon Age, I am not happy with two.
That's actually a good point. Like, if this was like a Path of Exile or a Diablo type of game, the combat system may actually have worked.
Attack abilities. That's the issue. This is Dragon Age. This is a...
Do you know what this reminds me of? Holy shit. there used to be a Neverwinter Nights online game. And it had like the most simplistic mechanic that you can possibly imagine. And it was because it was online. Like, they didn't really put a lot of thought into the gameplay. It was like an MMO type of thing. It wasn't very popular. It didn't last long. But the combat was literally like this. This is how the combat was. Like, spam, spam, click, 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 click.
Fuck you, Wolfinger.
That's the building I track Solus.
That's supposed to have party-based combat with a strategy to it, you know?
Demons found them.
Was there gold back here? Is there gold back here? I need the gold. I need the gold, goddammit. Yeah, there is. Thank God I went back here to pick up this gold. Ah, currency. Thank Jesus. I don't know what I'd do without these, 21 gold pieces.
To be fair, the
And
environment
you've also
looks
got
great.
Estus flasks. So you see these giant, eye-gougingly green vases? Well, if you hit them, you get health potions. But I can only carry 3. Hold on. Is there an inventory? I. Is there?
Anyway. Either, hold on. Only human race? Really? You can't play as an elf? Doesn't look bad, but it's not Dragon Age. I mean, from what I understand, it has performance issues. The combat is boring. The characters and the story is bad. The environment looks good, though. In this Dragon Age, I can Madonna... Yes, you can Madonna current center sticks. Anyway, gotta go now. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll have more info if this game is doing well or not. So far, the reviews aren't that great, and none of the streamers that I follow seem to enjoy it. Even the streamers, because I follow like a diverse range of streamers. I also follow like people who are not into the culture war, and they don't enjoy it either for various reasons. Usually performance-wise, gameplay-wise, and take care.